Good evening, everyone. My name is Tremaine HEMANS. I am the owner and founder of the HEMANS Law Group, as you all know. And today I am very excited to present this webinar with my amazing colleague, Allison Gordon. She is an incredible attorney. I'm going to let her, of course, introduce herself, and then we can get started with the webinar. So hi, Allison.
Hi, Tremaine. I am so excited to be here. My name is Allison Gordon. I am an injunction for protection attorney with Harbor House of Central Florida, one of the 42 certified domestic violence centers in the state of Florida. I have had a year and a half doing this and just being in the trenches with victims and all kinds of people. So I am very excited to spread the word about domestic violence and answer any questions that anybody can have.
Okay. She's being modest. By the way, she's been practicing for 2 years, but our entire time in law school, this is Allison's passion. This is where she volunteered. This is where she led our Black Law Students Association and our Women's Law Society at FIU College of Law in doing a lot of domestic violence programming. So she knows what she's talking about. She's just being a little modest, but I'm going to toot your horn, friend, because she knows what she's doing. Okay. So the reason why I wanted to do this, of course, is because it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And as an immigration lawyer, I do see a lot of Violence Against Women Act clients, meaning people who are suffering from domestic violence and are trying to figure out how they can still get their immigration documents, possibly without their abusive spouse or ex-spouse, or actually parent or child, because it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. Right. So that's why I wanted to do this. I feel like there's a lot of information that's not given out to the general public for you to understand, that you don't have to stay in abusive situations in order to get your papers or even to just remain in the United States. There are so many programs out there for everyone. So that really is what Allison is sharing with us this evening. So I'm super excited. So is there anything you wanted to say about domestic violence and anything before we get into the questions, Allison?
Yeah, I'll just do like a quick and brief overview of what domestic violence is, because I think a lot of people generally seem to think that it's just violence, but there's lots of different kinds, and we are going to definitely be getting into some through our questions that we've been presented. But domestic violence is a large issue. It's an issue that affects more people than you could possibly even imagine. Someone you know is probably a victim of some form of domestic violence, whether it be the physical or emotional, verbal, psychological, economic. There's so many different kinds, and there's so many different ways that one can be affected. But at the same time, there's so many ways that you can get out of that situation. Yes. And at the end of the day, it's the victim's choice when they get out of that situation. A lot of people ask, why don't they just leave? It's a very detailed and a very intricate and a very complicated issue. So we're only going to be touching on some things tonight. So if you guys have any other questions, you can reach out to Tremaine. I can give Tremaine my information, and we can get into it.
Yes, we're going to, of course, post that information everywhere this is posted.
Absolutely.
It's going to be, we're pre-recording it now on Thursday night, but hi, you're seeing us on Friday. Let me get into why it's being pre-recorded. I am very protective of my clients, and so is Allison. Therefore, we didn't find that it would be productive for us to give an open space for unscrupulous individuals and people who are seeking to harm people to also be able to leave comments. So we'd rather do it after we finish the webinar so that we can screen whatever comments are being said and things of that nature. So this is for the protection of others. Just wanted to put that out there. But Absolutely. We're posting it everywhere. Okay. All right. So let's get into some of the questions. So what we have done is post the flyer for this event on our Instagram stories. And we asked the general public to just tell us whatever questions they had about this issue. So we have a list of questions here, mainly for Allison, because that's why she's here. So I'll start. Okay. So someone said, I don't know where to start. So let's start with that.
Yeah. And I think that's the perfect question to start off with, because that's what most people struggle with is where do I begin? What do I do? So the first thing that I would suggest anybody do is, if you want to start on the national level, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, they have a hotline. That hotline can take you to the Florida or the Georgia or wherever you are hotline. Every state in the country, I want to say, yes, every state in the country has a domestic violence hotline that you can call and get local information. For Florida, that means that you are going to get connected with the local domestic violence center or agency, organization, whatever you want to call it. From that point, then you will go and speak to that specific center, and they will give you lots of resources. It's honestly kind of overwhelming to begin with, because you're getting all of this information that you didn't know was out there. So what I suggest for people who want to know where to start is a safety plan. A safety plan is, it can be whatever you need it to be, really. A lot of times it's, I need to start packing a small bag just in case I need to leave. It's, I need to have emergency numbers. If you have children, it's talking to your children and saying that if there's an incident, this is the number that you need to call in case mommy or daddy or whomever is in trouble, things like that. You can also start doing your finances with that sort of stuff. Trying to figure out, okay, well, he keeps all of the money, or she does this with her paycheck and I can't access it, and she's the only one working, whatever it may be, starting to get you on the path to leave.
Yes.
If you're not wanting to go the criminal route or even a legal route whatsoever, that might be, okay, well, there's a shelter here. I have this family member that will let me stay at their place. I have this group of friends that I can couch surf with, whatever that might be. That all can go into your safety plan that starts you on the path to leaving, if that's what you want. If that's not what you're looking for, it might be, okay, let me start going to counseling and see if they'll go to counseling with me.
Okay.
Maybe if there's other ways that we can solve this issue, maybe they need to go to counseling.
Right.
They need to go to therapy. So really, I mean, where you start is completely up to you and what you're comfortable with,
right,
and what it is that you feel that you need for yourself. So I can't give you one specific answer,
right,
but I can tell you that getting yourself together with a safety plan and getting yourself in the headspace of, okay, I need things to change.
Yes.
I need things to be different, and I need to figure out how it is that I can do that. So that's where I would suggest you start, is figuring out what your needs entail.
Yes.
And then from there, you can do other steps. There's lots of different resources available that can help you do that.
Okay. So just to recap, she's saying if you are at the point where you want to get out immediately, Google what was it? The domestic violence?
The National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. If you're in Florida, there is a Florida hotline. If you're elsewhere, literally you can look up domestic violence agency near me, or, even a 211 situation, which if you call 211 or 411, depending on where you are, and you talk to them about, I'm in this sort of situation and I need resources, they can provide you with phone numbers.
Okay.
So that's usually where a lot of people start.
Right. I think that's a really good idea, though, to at least develop a safety plan in your mind. You know what I mean? So that's excellent. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay.
Absolutely.
Another question we got is that, I can't leave because of my child. Okay. So how do children factor into someone trying to leave?
They're a huge factor. Because obviously you don't want to take your children away from their parents.
True.
Is the first thing. But what I usually say to people in those situations is, what environment are you keeping your child in? Is it a safe environment for them? Take yourself out of it. Take the other parent out of it. Take the other person. It doesn't even have to be their parent.
Right.
What environment are you putting your child in? Is it safe? Are you comfortable with that? If you are, then that's fine. If it's safe, because a lot of times in domestic violence situations, the abuser isn't abusive towards the children. They're great with the children. They're great with them.
Okay.
But are they seeing what's going on?
Yes.
Are they being put in the middle of what's going on? That's the first question that I tell people to ask themselves, because, and again, this isn't a decision that anybody can make but you.
For you, yes.
But at the end of the day, you have to look at the situation that you're putting, not you, that your children find themselves in. I should reword that. Not that you are putting them in, because you're not doing it. The victim isn't doing it. But the children find themselves in these situations, and it has long-lasting effects. A lot of children end up going to therapy after being in the middle of domestic violence situations. So that's the first question. Are you comfortable with what your child is seeing and what situation they are finding themselves in?
Yes. I've actually had
Second question,
have a conversation with, a client of mine. This was a while back, but my question to her was, what if something happens to you and you're not there anymore? Right. Are you comfortable leaving your child with this person? That's something you have to, think about, because yes, today he's just pushing you into a wall or something, but what if he pushes you too hard one day and then you leave your child? What happens then? You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. And that's the thing too. Are you sure that you are going to still be around if you let this continue to happen? Are you going to be able to be present for your child because of what's happening? Because you can be there, you can be taking care of them, you can be there, but are you present? Are you engaging with them? Because a lot of times what happens is you're going through so much that your children kind of end up just you go through the motions with them.
Yes.
And you're just there, but you're not being present with them. And children can sense that sort of stuff. They really can. So, I mean, that's the first step, is deciding whether or not you are comfortable leaving the situation yourself with your children.
Yes.
Secondly, then we get the legal system involved.
Right.
That's when we can get injunctions going. That's when we can start divorce process. That's when we can start paternity. That's when we can call the police if there's physical stuff going on. Because what happens then is, say you wanted to file an injunction, which is definitely 1000% my wheelhouse. So in an injunction, especially domestic violence injunctions, there are provisions specifically for time sharing with the respondent, AKA the abuser.
Okay, let's stop for a second. So we're speaking legalese a little bit now.
Yeah.
So what is an injunction? What is that?
So yes, good question. Thank you for slowing me down, because
I know she's in her passion, honey. She's ready to go.
I know, I'm ready. Okay, so an injunction. Let's break that down. An injunction is a piece of paper that tells someone to do something or not do something. That's the basic level of it. Now, in domestic violence, it means that the person who is asking for the injunction to be put in place against another person, the abuser generally speaking, is asking the court to issue something that says that other person cannot come around you anymore, cannot contact you anymore. So that means they can't come around you. They can't pop around at your house. They can't, follow you to the grocery store. They can't even be within 500 feet of you. They can't be within 100 feet of your car. They can't text you. They can't call you. They can't Facebook you. They can't Snapchat you. They can't post in your DMs. They can't tag you in things anywhere. No WhatsApp, no text now, no nothing.
Okay.
Yes. I have to go through the whole thing.
The whole thing, I see. I didn't know that.
As you can tell, I've got like a whole thing.
I know. Yeah. I didn't know that even tagging someone was a thing that you can get protection from. So that
is very recent in Florida. Okay. So that is very jurisdictional, which means it's very local. That's a local-ish rule.
Okay.
But generally, that is considered a form of cyber stalking, because it's technically still a direct point of contact. So and I'm pretty sure generally any sort of direct point of contact is covered by any sort of injunction, or whatever the name may be. So in New York, they're protective orders. In other places, they're what normal people would call restraining orders. But Florida is a little extra. We've got several levels to all of our things.
When are we not?
Exactly. So that's generally what an injunction is.
Okay,
it's something that says, it's a piece of paper that says you are not allowed to come around or contact this other person. And so within that, on top of that protection level, there's also provisions for children. So for the initial process in Florida, when you file for one of these, and it's not guaranteed that you get one, but when you file and a judge says, okay, this person needs what's called a temporary injunction. When they get that, I would say 9 times out of 10, unless there's some other issues going on, and that's like really, what's the word I'm looking for? That's like outside the norm.
Okay.
The petitioner, who is the person that is asking for the injunction, will get 100% time sharing in custody of the child for the 2 weeks that the temporary injunction is in place. So that means that you have 2 weeks that you can't leave the state of Florida, but you can get your affairs in order before there's a final injunction hearing held. And so basically the way that the process works quickly is you file the petition, you get an answer back from the judge. If you get an answer that isn't basically just a no, you have 2 weeks to get that person served with the injunction, which we can go more into what all of these legal terms mean. Basically giving them the injunction. Right. And then you have a court date. That court date is when you go in front of a judge and you tell the judge, this is what's been going on. This is why I need a final injunction. And then the judge will make the final determination right there. So it's a very quick process as far as legal processes go. Tremaine can tell you that most things take a lot more than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the process for that. And within that, at that final hearing, you can then get a time sharing plan, a temporary one, but a time sharing plan that says that the abuser can only see the children Fridays to Saturdays from this time to this time. Or they have to have supervised visitation, which means either another person has to be there that both parties can agree to, or a court monitored program.
Yes.
So there's lots of different provisions that are in place just within the injunction system that allows victims to leave with their children.
Okay, because I think a lot of people are worried that, if I call the police or something, will my children end up in child protective services? I don't want to put them in the system, but what you're saying is there's a whole other process where your children don't necessarily have to be taken from you.
There's several processes when it comes to that sort of stuff. So DCF does often get involved. But I would say removal of children it's in very, very severe situations in which you would have to have a situation where there's been multiple phone calls to the police. The children have seen the situations over several occasions, and the person who is being abused isn't cooperating with DCF. So CPS, whatever that might be.
Yes.
If the victim is cooperating and is following the steps and is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and granted, I realize that is not always the easiest thing to do because not everybody wants to get the police and get an injunction involved and all of those things. It's really the situations where there has been several incidences and it doesn't seem as though anything is being done to take care of the children specifically, that removal comes into play.
Understood.
Generally speaking, and this is very general, but generally speaking, removal is one of the last options that DCF or Child Protective Services will go to.
Okay. The next question we see here is, I don't have the money to leave. So are there financial resources for victims if they do want to get out of the situation, but they find themselves in a vice because this person controls the money, you know?
So this is one of what I would say the most common reasons why people don't leave, because it's very difficult to leave in a situation where you have zero idea what's been going on with your finances for most of the time that you've been with this person. So the first thing that I will tell you is set your expectations correctly.
Okay.
When it comes to finances, because the free money is out there, but it is not the easiest to get all of the time.
Okay.
Now, there are definitely programs out there. For example, in Florida, if you want to bring the children in, there's 4C, which they can apply to pay for daycare.
Okay.
There are rapid rehousing programs. There are.
Can you be a little more specific? Like what are the programs called? Like the names, do you know?
Well, rapid rehousing is actually one of the programs that is available. And that's just kind of like it's also a great umbrella term because it's exactly what it says. It's rapid rehousing. But there is also a program called rapid rehousing. So for the financial stuff, what I would suggest is definitely reaching out to your domestic violence center that's near you. Most of the time, they'll have some sort of economic justice program. We at my agency, we have a housing assistance program. They are the experts when it comes to this stuff.
And again, she works for Harbor House.
Yes, Harbor House of Central Florida. They are the experts when it comes to this sort of stuff. Because I mean, there's so much that I don't even know. And I work with this stuff all the time, but there's definitely programs out there that can help you if you are diligent in applying for it. So that's why I say I start off with set your expectations correctly.
Right.
Because it's not you sign a piece of paper and you get $1,000.
Right.
It's a little bit more involved than that. But the programs are out there. And honestly, I would say a Google search is the best way to start off when it comes to that sort of stuff. Google search, talking with your domestic violence center, anything like that can start you on the path as far as financials go. And that's another place that your safety plan comes in.
Right.
Because the first thing that you're going to do once you're starting to decide, okay, I need to get out of here, is how am I going to get money?
Yes.
If you don't have anyone, like you don't have your parents to support, friends, whatever it may be, that's when you want to start reaching out to these places to start on that path. And that's one of the first things that you need to figure out in your safety plan is, how am I going to be able to afford it? Now, I know that this is not always the thing that people want to hear, but going to a domestic violence shelter is an amazing first step when it comes to this, because you go into a domestic violence shelter and you have advocates, case managers, you have all of these people that want to help you get back on your feet and move forward from the life that you're leaving behind. And those are the people that are going to be able to walk you through all of these different financial situations, because it's not just your rent or your utilities or anything like that. Those all have individual remedies to them. So there are different rent programs. There's different programs that I know in Orange County, we have an amazing utilities program that you can apply for. I can't remember exactly what the name is off the top of my head, of course.
We'll put it in the comments.
Right, exactly. I'll probably put together a nice little info sheet.
She will. That's how she rolls.
So you can get all of this information. But the programs are out there, is my point. So when it comes to financials, the first step is figuring out where you are.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people will start off not even knowing how deep into it they need to go. So figure out where you are. Figure out what it is that you need. Make a list. I'm a huge list person. Tremaine's a huge list person. Lists are amazing. Make a list of all of the things that you're going to need, your necessities and your luxuries, because those are important too. Because self-care throughout this entire thing is the most important thing.
True.
The most important thing.
And I know we're throwing a lot out, or she is. I'm just nodding right now, honestly. We're throwing out a lot of information right now, a lot of great information. And it's easy. Well, I wouldn't say easy, but I know you're overwhelmed being already in this situation, the trauma and emotional turmoil that you're going through. But these steps that she's talking about are what's going to help you get to the next step out of this toxic, horrible situation that you're in. So it's only going to be helpful. You know what I mean? So sometimes we have to go through the harder parts of it to get to not the easy part, but the part that you have control over. So take a deep breath and grab your pen. You're going to be fine.
Yes.
Proceed, Allison.
What I tell my clients all the time is this situation, you're starting from a bottom of a hill. Each thing that you do is one extra step above that hill so that you can get to the horizon.
Yes.
And you can look out at that sunset and you can look back and say, I have accomplished so much to get to this horizon, that you can then just sit back and appreciate it. Everything will seem easier after you get through this process.
Yeah.
But it's a battle. It's a hill climb. It's like one of those what are they called? The Spartan races, where you got to go through all of those obstacles, but then you feel amazing at the end.
Yes.
That's what this whole process is. Take it one day, even 1 hour at a time, and you will get through it. You will. And people have done it before you. People will do it after you, and you can do it just as well. Absolutely. And I know I'm just like spitting out facts at you, so I do apologize.
That's so what we're here, is to give you the fact. There's a lot in her brain and in my brain. So we're happy to unload some of it onto you guys, just to help even one person that sees this little webinar, just to, help one person leave a dangerous situation. So again, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Right. Wait, one more thing on financials. Yes. I'm so sorry. This one's actually very important.
Yes.
So if you are a victim of a crime in the state of Florida, there is victims' compensation. And if you are in contact with the state attorney, they should be referring you somewhere that you can apply for victims' compensation. You have 30 days after the committance, whatever.
The commission of the crime, is that what you're saying?
Commission?
I don't even know if that's the word, but you guys know what we're saying.
The crime has been committed. You have 30 days. 30 days, and it's very important. 30 days to apply for victims' compensation. So if you are a victim of domestic violence, battery, aggravated battery, whatever it may be, please ask the state attorney that is in contact with you about victims' compensation and where you can apply. It may only be $1,000, but it's $1,000 more than you had to start off with. So that's the last one, financial.
Okay. I got this question a few times, is that I don't want the person to go to prison. I don't want to put them in the criminal system and all of that. So as one of the first things we talked about is you going the injunction route. You don't have to per se press charges against the person, but my friend will tell you, no matter what, call the police. If you are in danger, you need to call the police. It becomes important for injunction world with her, and becomes very important for my world as well. Because in order to prove a Vawa case, like, hey, I'm supposed to be getting my green card, but I'm married to it could be a US citizen or a legal permanent resident. You're going to have to show that there's something. You can't just say, hey, I'm being abused. You have to have something to attach that to. So even though you might not want to call the police, it is good for your protection, for us to get these protective orders for you and for your immigration case as well. Stop thinking about this person. They are not thinking about you and your safety. Okay? I understand, of course.
Tough to do.
Yeah, of course. This is 2 Black women talking to you. We are aware of what is going out there with people of color. I get it. Call the police. And if you don't want to call the police, you can go the injunction route. Call the domestic violence centers and figure out what you can do. So yeah,
absolutely.
Anything on that, Allison?
I mean, it just ditto to everything that you said. I mean, it's terrifying to call the police when you're in our situation.
Yeah.
I get that. You don't know what's going to happen, but at the end of the day, you also don't know what's going to happen if you don't call the police.
Yeah.
And so that's what I have to frame it for my victims like that all the time, because I get it. I understand that, the way that things are right now, it's not always the easiest thing to call the police, but you do not know what's going to happen if you don't. They can at least break up the situation, whatever it may be in that moment, and they might not take anybody to jail. And then even if they do go to jail, they might not get fully prosecuted. It might not go beyond them just getting arrested.
Yes.
And in Florida, the victim does have a say to an extent on whether or not charges get formally pressed. So, and remember that just because they get arrested doesn't mean that you actually get charges pressed against you. So that's important. I don't think a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
So
think about yourself.
Yes. Put yourself first.
Yes. All right. Okay. Next question is, who can I call for protection? The police.
The police.
Are there any other resources, Allison, that you know of that they can do?
As far as protection, immediate protection, I would go with the police. There really isn't, unfortunately, a lot of other resources. I would love to see a social worker, domestic violence agency, advocate option, but that's just not where we are yet. I think with everything that's happened in the last year, we might get more of a push towards community agents rather than police officers.
Right.
But for right now, calling for protection, police for sure. Get an injunction.
Exactly. Right. Call Harbor House.
Call your domestic violence center. Right. Call legal aid. They usually know too.
Yes. That's
legal aid is a great resource.
And they're everywhere. There's legal aid of every Broward, Miami, everywhere. There's legal aid everywhere. So you can
Miami-Dade legal aid is fantastic.
She interned for them as well. Yes, I've had other colleagues that work for Miami Legal Aid as well, and they can also attest that it's a great program. So the resources are out there, is what we're really trying to, repeat over and over. Yes. This next question, I believe, was for me in particular, because you know how Caribbean people talk. We're both Jamaican, so
yes, all the time.
This question
they see my bracelet and they're like, yeah, and I'm like,
I mean, the necklace, black, green, and gold. That's how we do. So this person said, I need my papers. Okay, so that in immigration terms, that usually means I need my green card. So what I take from that is that you are thinking that you have to stay with this person in order to obtain your documents. You do not. Okay. I keep telling my clients what you can do for me when she talks about the preparedness plan, right? Your plan before you leave. Part of that plan is also taking pictures of all of his or her documents, her passport, her birth certificate, the marriage certificate. If he's not giving you access to all of it. I had one case where I had to advise her to wait until the person went to work to take the pictures of whatever, because she wasn't allowed to leave. So take the pictures of all of his stuff when he's out, send them to me, and then delete them if that's the only thing you do, okay? Yeah. Contact an attorney. Contact an immigration lawyer. Call me. I will literally walk you through what steps to take for you to get out of the situation, because so many people think they have to stay in this abusive situation to get their papers. Their families telling them, no, it's easier if you just stay with the person. The immigration process is very long sometimes. If you're trying to adjust your status, you're looking at 9 months that you have to sit with this person. And then you have to remember the most important thing when you're adjusting. You are going to have to go to an interview, right? What if this person is lording it over your mind, over your life, that, oh, I'm not going to go to the interview. And then what? Then it gets denied because he didn't go. You understand? But there are so many other programs within immigration law. There are so many rules in place to protect people who are in your situation. So you do not need to stay with this person. You do not need to stay with them. Even if you divorce them, they give you up to 2 years for you to still file for your Vawa application and your adjustment after you've already left this person. All you need is the proof that you're married to them, the proof that there's been abuse, and the proof that you have resided with the person, and that you have good moral character and a bunch of other things. But the primary evidence you need is proof of their citizenship, proof of the marriage, and proof that you live together. If you have that and proof that something has happened to you, we can help you. I promise. You don't need to stay with the person because you need papers. And that's my essay. I'm done.
Yes. I didn't know that. So before you told me. And so I literally, oh, you've got an immigration issue? Let me tell you.
Yes. Now I'm very happy because we've been friends through most of law school up until into our careers. So we share information, and I'm happy to share the information that she has also given me because, as an immigration lawyer, when you practice one area of law, of course, you're not going to know as much about the others. So I would tell clients, call the police, get an injunction. And then they're like, well, how do I get an injunction? I don't know. So here's Allison to help you figure that part out. Right. But you don't have to stay. Okay. This one's good, Allison. He's never hit me. Is that even abuse? Yes.
Yes. Very much so. Now, as far as criminal, injunction, legal stuff, it depends.
Yes.
Which is the lawyer's favorite answer. I'm sorry if you've heard it before. I'm sorry that I'm going to say it.
We don't do it on purpose, but it's true.
Exactly. It depends. Now, I'm going to take my attorney hat off and put my advocate hat on. Now, there are several types of abuse. Physical is just the one, like I said at the beginning, is just the one that everybody thinks of. But there's verbal abuse, putting you down, making you feel small, demeaning, anything like that. Verbal abuse, coercing you. That's getting into emotional and mental. They, because it is not just men doing one thing and women doing another. It is everybody. They make you feel bad when you go out with your friends and they're constantly calling and texting you saying, oh, you don't love me because you aren't texting me and you're having fun. Oh, go have fun with your friends because I'll just be here. Then, we can branch out into, let's see, what's the
gaslighting?
Next?
Gaslighting.
Oh, gaslighting.
A lot of people realize that's a thing. So describe that a little bit more for them, Allison.
So gaslighting is basically the abuser making the victim feel like they're crazy for a very legitimate concern, whatever the concern may be. Oh, well, you hit me and I'm upset about it, so now I want to leave. Well, you are actually the one that made me hit you and you did this, that, and the other, so you deserved it.
Right.
Gaslighting.
Yes.
It's the most of it all for me because you're literally just making the other person feel crazy to the point that they're like,
maybe I am.
Maybe I am overreacting. Maybe I am doing that.
But why do I feel this way?
Right. Reworking the way that their brain works, which is why a lot of domestic violence is honestly like kind of Stockholm syndrome in a lot of different ways.
And that
in a lot of different ways.
Stockholm syndrome.
Oh, yes. So Stockholm syndrome is when you fall in love with your kidnapper, to keep it pretty short. So basically, you're like, you get kidnapped and then you're like, oh, I'm afraid. And then you're like, oh, but he's kind of cute.
Right. Or
but
will
he's
they
so
hurt
nice.
him when I leave? You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be hurt if I leave him or her, things like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So
they are not gonna be able to live without me.
Exactly.
They're not gonna, because of what they've been telling you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you can't leave because then how am I gonna be able to do that?
Right.
Oh, you can't leave because of the kids. Oh, you can't leave because the house, you need to take care of the house. All of these different things. All of those different things. And then
they don't need to hit you. It doesn't have to be physical for it to be domestic abuse.
Definitely not. And then there's economic.
Yep, which we were talking about before. When the person has control of all the money, that's actually another question we have, but we can go into that right now. When the person controls all the money, you have access to nothing. You are being forced to do certain things in order to get support. That's economic abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's probably one of the more common ones that people don't actually think about.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that that's one of the easiest things to get away with. Because prior to the 1970s, that's just what marriages were. So it's not built in anywhere that that's really abuse, like legally speaking. So I mean, that's when you want to go to, and I know that it's a big point of pride to not go to a shelter, but that's really the best time for you to go to a shelter, because they can set you up for success going forward, and they can get you back on your feet. And there's not really, besides the divorce process, which takes a very long time, and some provisions in the injunction process, there's not a lot that you can do to remedy economic abuse, besides separating yourself and getting back on your feet.
Yeah. Okay. This one's a bit more serious. She says, I'm married and I'm forced to do certain things that I don't want to do, but how can it be rape because we are married? That is an actual thing, right, Allison?
Yes. If you do not consent to any sort of sexual action and you say no, that is still very much rape. It does not matter what relationship you have. You are under no obligation to perform any sort of sexual act to anyone, regardless of if you've been married for a year or 40 years. You are under no obligation to perform any sort of sexual act. It is rape of just as much as, unfortunately, someone that is
single,
sexually assaulted by someone that they don't know.
Yeah.
Just as much as someone that it's the date rape situation, or most rape cases from the statistics that I've read are actually people that the other person knew.
Oh, yeah. So yes, your case is no less compelling because you are married. Okay.
Absolutely. You can very much, I've represented people in that situation that they are victims of rape, even though they're in, a spousal relationship with the other person. And that is very much still rape. You can still very much report that. You can call the police for that. If you're saying no means no. And that's the end of the day.
Yeah.
No means no.
Yes. This goes back to what we're talking about is, do I have to put him in jail? I feel like we already touched on that, but just to recap, you don't have to put the person in jail. You calling the police is protection for yourself, and you can seek an injunction, or you can leave and go to a domestic violence shelter. There are several other options than putting the person in jail.
Yeah.
Did I get that right? Okay.
And I mean, just because they're in jail for the incident doesn't mean that they're going to stay in jail.
Right.
That's also something to remember.
Right. Okay. Okay. So is this for men as well? If you realize, my esteemed colleague has been constantly poking that in there. It is not only for women. Domestic violence happens to everyone. I myself have had numerous clients who are not women, who are being abused by their spouse, their girlfriends, whoever else. So yeah, it's not only for women.
Yeah. And I mean, this is this is a people issue.
Yes.
This isn't a gender issue. As much as statistically, historically, yes, it's a gender-based violence issue. But at the end of the day, it's 2021, y'all. This is a people issue. Everybody is at risk of being an abuser.
Yes.
And I say that very specifically. Everybody's at risk of being an abuser. It's not like a predisposition. It's not something that, you know, you might not be abusive to one person, but might be abusive to another person. Yes. Because even emotional abuse is still abuse, right? Yes. That's what we've been talking about. This isn't one gender, and it's not heterosexual relationships either. Homosexual relationships just as much as heterosexual relationships. So that's why it's so important to keep talking about this issue so that more people are aware of what's going on. So the more we talk about it, the more it's in the spotlight, the less that people can hide behind it.
Exactly. And the more you know, so you can get some help.
Yes.
So yes, it's not for just women. It's not for just women. It's a people issue, as she says. It's not a gender issue. I love that. Okay. So, all right. This is an immigration question.
Immigration.
I have left the situation, but I am afraid to get the divorce because that will affect my immigration case, right? Wrong. Like I was saying, if you can file for your immigration papers within 2 years of leaving the relationship. So you can get divorced and still get your paperwork done and still get approved that way. You don't have to stay tied to this person for what? You don't have to do that.
And please don't, because being attached to that person, just from like the family law perspective, just creates so many problems down the road.
Yes. So if you have the ability to get divorced as soon as possible, then get it done. You don't have to stay with this person. Get away from them. Get away from them.
Leave, y'all. Leave.
Leave. How do I prove that there's been abuse if they didn't hit me? Okay. Talk about it, Allison.
So legally tough, right? My big thing that I tell people, text messages, voicemails, phone calls, gold mine. And so really quickly, recording people is also a big thing too. I would caution you that unless the other person knows that they're being recorded, you can't use it in a court of law. However, I'm recording you. Be cautious with it, because it can go two ways. It can be very beneficial, like they'll stop what they're doing, or they might get a little bit more mad.
More angry.
So know your situation, know yourself, and stay safe. But recording people is great because then you can get video and proof of what's been going on. Other than that, your word is law when it comes to injunctions. So if you're testifying under oath, you're swearing that this is true, that can often be enough. Now, it needs to be threats of physical violence or stalking in order to get an injunction. But for other situations, that can be, your word is still law. So you're testifying.
In my sphere, that can be enough. If all you have is your testimony, that can be enough. I will help you write the best affidavit known to man. We'll get it notarized, and that will be what we use.
Me too.
But in the immigration sphere, what I do find is that the victim tends to tell their family or tell their friends about what's going on. Okay, today he or she said this. Today they did this. They manipulated me this kind of way. So I tell them, ask those persons to write you sworn statements as well, so we can submit that as well to show that there has been abuse. And what Allison said is my thing always, honey. You need to screenshot every message, anything that you can hang on to when they say certain things to you. Start keeping a diary. Okay, today the person said this. Let me write that down. So because when you're being traumatized, you're not going to remember everything on command, so Write things down, lists, we talk about that. We love the list. Write stuff down to help you remember, because you're building a record to be able to, live your own life away from this person. So write down as much as you can, take pictures, take video, everything, whatever you can do to help prove your case. So just because you don't have a bruise doesn't mean that you're not being abused, okay? And the law recognizes that. Yeah.
That was good. And on top of that, Google Drives, Dropboxes, things like that, online sources where you have things in the cloud, because what a lot of abusers do is they'll delete and throw away.
Yeah.
So you want to have a backup source for where you keep all of these things, even if it's
sure they don't have access to your cloud. I had a case like that where he had access to her cloud, and yeah, so be careful with that. If you have to create a whole new email, Gmail will give you a whole bunch of space, with your new email for you to do that. So if you have to do that to protect yourself, then yes, because she is right. People do delete things to try to hide what they're doing.
And they'll throw away the diary and all of those things. So back everything up. That would be my biggest suggestion especially when it comes to things that it's not like physical, where you can't see it, back everything up. And in a lot of situations, when it comes to injunctions, even if it's not necessarily the best quality, like he's just kind of like, or they're just kind of like saying something that's like kind of offhand, not great, or it's just lots of messages, quality and quantity are both important.
Yes. Okay, so this is another one. I think we both can answer this, actually. It says, what do I file? So in the immigration sphere, what you file is the I-360 application, right? The I-360 is specifically for Vawa cases and a few other things, but that's the form that you'd file. You fill it out. Make sure you read the instructions, because it's going to tell you what evidence you have to submit with it in order to get it approved. So that's the document that you file. If you're working with a lawyer, there may be other documents that we file based on your eligibility. So again, please contact an attorney to see what it is that you can file and do in this process. What do they file for you, Allison? What would they file?
So you would start off by going to your local clerk's office. There's usually an injunction or a family law department. Depending on your situation, if it's a intimate partner situation and whether or not you're living together, children in common, things like that, there's 5 different types in the state of Florida of injunctions that you can file. We're kind of really touching on domestic violence, so I'm going to mostly focus on that. And dating violence kind of goes right into it, but those are 2 different types. So, there's a piece of paper that they give you, generally speaking. So read that. Reading is very important, people. Please read the instructions to everything in immigration and in injunction land as well. So with that, the most important thing is the packet all comes together. So you don't really have to pull a bunch of different things that you need to pull together. Yeah. But the most important thing is your statement. And your statement is basically your sworn affidavit, which is a sworn statement that says what's been going on. The big thing, you want to do any recent physical violence, threats of physical violence and stalking. You want to be very detailed about what happened. You don't want to just put, they put hands on me and they did this. You want
listen to that, because that's going to be necessary for immigration as well. The affidavit is super important. So what you're saying about being specific, because our human nature is to not want to explain and prove that we're telling the truth, especially to something traumatic. Like I just expect you to believe what I am saying to you. It's insulting. Right. But you have to remember now, the people who are reviewing your injunction petition and your I-360 petition, they don't know you. Right. They've never met you. Your life. Chances are this is a sensitive situation, yes, and we empathize, but they've seen 10,000 of these today. You understand? So you have to be as specific as you can to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance of this being approved.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I'm talking, walk me through exactly what happened and write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how traumatic and re-victimizing that is. And I know that it's terrible, but your best chance of success is to paint the picture for the person reviewing your documents to be as vivid as if they were there.
Yes.
So that you can really express to them not only the physical threats of physical violence, stalking, whatever it is that you've been going through, but they can feel your fear.
Yeah.
Because all of injunction land is based on fear of future incidents.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can feel your fear and they can feel that, something is going on and I need help, you have a better chance of getting what it is that you're looking for.
Yes.
And I'm sure that applies in immigration.
Absolutely,
as
yes.
well.
Yes.
So that's what you would file. An injunction for protection. If you have any questions, reach out to the local domestic violence center or legal aid. They can give you a rundown of what it is. Most of the domestic violence centers in the state of Florida have a program like mine.
Mm-hmm.
So we have I prefer people to come to me before they file.
Yes.
So I make sure that they file correctly and they file the right one and they put everything in.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Because if you don't put something
out
in
before file.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. Before you
ahead.
file,
Yes.
regardless of whatever it is, legally speaking, that you're trying to do, before you go to the courthouse, you should always talk to a lawyer.
Yes.
Most attorneys do free consultations of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't, find one that does. Because at least if you can get some sort of nugget of information that will help you, it's better than going in blind.
Yes.
So absolutely.
Yes.
But then for injunctions, anything that you don't put in your petition, you can't talk about at your final injunction hearing. So if I keep catching myself. If they have been doing these sorts of incidents and for a long time, and there's all of these different things that can go towards your success at your final injunction hearing. So you want to talk about everything.
Yes.
And if you don't put it in your petition, you can't talk about it at the final injunction hearing. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to be detailed and thorough in your statement.
Okay. Good point. Okay. The last question we had says that we've already been married for 1.5 years. It's time for me to file to remove the conditions on my green card, but he has become severely abusive and I want to leave, but I need my papers. Again, this is the same situation. You do not have to stay with this person to get your paperwork completed. The thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the law also has provisions for people who already have the conditional green card, which is the one that's issued for 2 years, because when you guys initially filed, you weren't married for long enough. So they wanted you to come back for a second interview, right? You don't have to still be with the person in order to get the conditions removed to get your 10-year permanent resident card. Here is why. Life happens. Things happen. Not every marriage works out. And let's just speak from the pandemic alone. Circumstances affect marriages. I can't tell you how many people have told me that because of the pandemic, their marriage broke down, finances changed, you're stuck in the house together, all kinds of things happen. Infidelity happened. Yes, you can win a case on infidelity. That is also abuse. That is, the person didn't keep the vows that they made to you and you're being hurt because of that situation. That is also abuse. That's in the eyes of immigration, at least. So you do not have to stay with this person. What you can do is still file your I-751, even if you've left the marriage. And again, if you divorce them, you're still eligible for getting it. You just have to ask them for a waiver of the person's presence at your interview. Read through the instructions of your I-751 application. It'll tell you what you need to show to prove that the person cannot come with you anymore to the second interview. You can file it without the person. Again, give me a call. I'll walk you through it. You can definitely still get your life taken care of, get your life on track without your abuser having to be involved, okay? You can do this up until your interview, because I've had a case where that has happened. Everything was hunky-dory, and then this person lost their mind like a week before the interview, you know what I mean? In that situation, however, you would have already filed the I-751, and you must take an attorney with you to your interview. Because now, if you filed it jointly with the presumption that the person's going to be coming to the interview with you, and then you show up by yourself, chances are the officer is going to deny your case, right? Mm-hmm. But if you have a legal representative like myself, who is not scared to argue with anybody, it is possible that you can have them, even if you don't bring an attorney, at least ask them to defer their decision. Please don't make a decision today. Let me go get the divorce and I will do whatever it is you need. Just send me a request for evidence and I will come back, or I will send you with whatever you need. Try to get them to not make a decision on that day. So yes, you're perfectly able to do it without that person. That was our last question.
You're so smart.
Oh my God. That was me listening to you.
I love listening to you talk about I-75s and letters and numbers.
Me listening to you talk about injunctions. Like, I don't know anything about this child, but my friend sounds amazing talking about it. I am so very proud of you and the work you do. I tell you all the time, we need advocates like you. And I'm telling you guys, this has been, I think we also clicked on that. Both of us have been very passionate about the field we were going into. Even when we were baby lawyers and little law students going to our little internships or whatever, I've always been the immigration girl, and she's always been the domestic violence advocate. So watching you actually practice this and sit here tonight, giving this information, it makes my heart so full. I know Deborah is watching us right now, beaming. Right. And Donna, they're going to be
little black girls.
Okay, they're going to be in the comments. So I just wanted to say I'm so very proud of you. I'm so proud of this conversation that we're having. So that was just me loving on my friend for a little bit.
Listen, you don't even want to get me started. I'm so proud of you. You've got your own law firm and you're doing big things. You're cussing out ICE agents on behalf of people. And I'm so proud of you. Oh my goodness. The work you do for people it's not talked about enough, but it's something that's so necessary because people say we have an immigration problem, but I think it's because of how we're treating people that want to be in this country.
Yes, we have a humanity problem. We don't have an immigration problem. People have forgotten to be empathetic and forgotten what it's like, or even if to step out of themselves. You know what I mean? Yes. You might not understand what this person is going through, but at least take a second to listen before you make a decision on whether that person's coming to steal your job. No one's coming to steal your job. People are literally running for their lives from certain places. Right. So take the time to listen,
Yeah.
My last point that I wanted to say before we go, I'm going to let you close off, but I just wanted to remind people to not be ashamed. You don't need to be ashamed of whatever is happening, that you need to leave and you don't have the money. You're with this person because you need immigration benefits and you had your life before you met this person. There is no need for you to be ashamed. As Allison said, this is not your fault. You did not bring this upon yourself, no matter what this person is telling you. And you deserve better. You deserve a happy life just as anybody else. It is nothing in your life that you have done to deserve this treatment from this man or this woman. There is nothing you have done in life for you to deserve that. So do not be ashamed of whatever is happening. Get out, seek help, and get better for yourself. Okay? That's what I wanted to say. Allison.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just, jumping right off from that, we're here for you. The people are here for you, whether it's people in my position or people in Tremaine's position. We're here. The people are there. We just want to help you. Yes. And even if I can't help you exactly how you need to be helped in that moment, I will help you find someone that is ready to help you. Do not be ashamed is the best thing that I could even possibly say. It's a people issue. Like I said, this happens to more people than you possibly could even imagine. And it's okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. You will get through this. Yeah. Anybody that's suffering through any sort of situation like this, whether it's being stuck in a situation because you think you have to, because you need to get your immigration, or because or your immigration status changed, or because your children are with that other person, or whatever it may be. Even we've got provisions in the law now for pets. There are things out there for you, and things to protect you, and things to get you back on your feet, and things to get you back on track.
Yes.
So do not be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
I know how difficult it is to ask for help. I am one of those people that hates to ask for help, but the help is there, and we want to help you. So please, 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 if you have any questions, seek the help, seek the answers, look for people. And, you know, even in your own life, you probably have more people that are willing to help you out
than you realize. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, when you said ask for help, we're two Black women sitting here. We know Black women. We have the weight of the world on our shoulders. We don't want to ask anybody for anything because we don't want anyone telling us and and all of that. Right. Get the help. You are not an island. You cannot do this by yourself. Nobody was made to do this type of stuff by themselves. Absolutely not. Ask for help. So what they talk about you afterwards, you're getting out of an abusive situation. Yeah. That's what's most important, is to get better for yourself. Yes. Yes. And listen to what you need and make decisions for yourself. I didn't really get to touch a lot. Well, not that it really came up, but I know that a lot of times there's a lot of external factors of people telling you what you think, what they think you need to do. Yes, yes. But it's very, 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 it happens with immigration. Oh, yes. Stay so that you can get your immigration status. Listen to what you need for yourself and make decisions for yourself. And that, I think, is almost even harder than anything else, because your whole life you've been listening to these people and they've been leading you on the right path, you think, but then you're in a situation that this is not okay. Yeah. So listen to yourself, listen to what you need, and make the decisions that are best for you and the people that you have to take care of, whether it's children or whomever. Make those decisions for yourself, listen to what you need, and do what's best for you. Okay. So before I close, I just wanted to leave a little disclaimer and apologize on mine and Allison's behalf, because implicit biases are a thing. Okay. And implicit bias means that you have a bias that you don't even consciously realize is there. So we do apologize for any male victim who feels as though we've been directing this entire conversation at women. We've constantly had to correct ourselves. So I just wanted to say, we apologize. That is not the intention. And we truly and sincerely apologize. If you need the help, please reach out to us just as much as anybody else. Okay? Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. All right. So that is it. Thank you so much, Allison. This was amazing. I can't wait for us to do another one of these, because we must. I know. We have to. We didn't even get into stuff. I know. We just touched the surface on a lot of stuff. Yeah. So, thank you so much for doing this. Absolutely. I can't wait to share this with everyone. And again, just leave your contact. Where do you work again? Harbor House of Central Florida. Okay. How can they contact you? Is there a telephone number? Yes. So I should have had this pulled up. Let me get the hotline number really quickly, because that's the best. Yes. Of course, not her direct contact. We don't want to do that. Yes. So the Harbor House of Central Florida, so this is Orlando. The hotline number is 407-886-2856. You'll call that. That's 24 hours a day. They'll assess your situation. If you need shelter and you want it, they can offer that to you. They can provide resources. They can refer you to me. They can give you a lot of different stuff just with that one number. Okay. Again, I would suggest calling the national. Let me get the national one up. Domestic hotline. Yes. All right. Nope. Okay. It is 1-800-799-7233. So that's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. They can provide you with all of the information nationally, as well as give you
places to go for local information.
Yeah.
So that's probably, if you're not in Florida, that's where you should start.
Okay. And also remember, you can reach out to legal aid.
Yes.
Whatever county you're living in, they have a legal aid department that will be able to help you with that. Also, my contact information, you can call to schedule a consultation at 754-301-8744. Again, that's 754-301-8744. If you prefer to shoot us an email, you can email us at info@hemanslaw.com. That's info@HEMANSLAW.com. Or you can send us a message through the contact us page on our website at HEMANSlaw.com. So we're ready to help you. Whatever you need, please reach out, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Yes. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.